Kevin is in no way funner than me, and I'll prove it with my
Initial codes. Bond 1. Initial codes. Bond 1. Initial codes.
Hello, my Star Trek people. I've got Picard's Season 2, Episode 3 for review today. Assimilation. I've got a Star's Gravity Well worth of spoilers if you'd like to slingshot out now. The episode continues the trend of a solid season, and time travel is so far a good plot device, which hasn't always been the case in Trek. We come back to the nearly throwaway standoff we were left on last week. While Raffi and Seven go all Romulan ninja nun on the Confederation security officers, the part that it actually plays in the story is killing the actual Romulan ninja. For now, this is a dislike for me. While Discovery just spent 3 episodes playing up the suspense of killing Detmer, and no one that mattered actually died by the end. Picard has consistently been the Game of Thrones of Trek that will kill characters you love out of nowhere. It's sad that Elnor has become the Travis Mayweather of the series. A character I've liked that the writers gave absolutely nothing meaningful to do. One last thing about this scene. How did the Confederation guards not hear Jurati plugging the Borg Queen into the ship? Once Her Highness is plugged in, she immediately spots the weakness in Confederation ships' main deflectors, and takes out their pursuers with only 1 photon apiece. She wastes no time reciting an incantation for the spell Time Warp, and slingshots them around the sun with perfect accuracy. Did anyone else get a flash of Sarah Connor from the end of the first Terminator when the Borg Queen is crawling her way menacingly towards Jurati? This is where I'm just now realizing this is the second time Picard has been taken back to the 21st century by a Borg Queen. From a 25th century point of view, he's now an aficionado on the time period. Here's where I have another dislike for the episode. They're already in Earth's atmosphere about to crash land, and Rios makes it sound like they're pretty much locked in on Los Angeles. But Picard takes over and crashes in the backyard of his chateau on the complete opposite side of the Earth. I understand that a ship comes in at an arc trajectory, but about to crash land in Los Angeles and France seem too far off course under these circumstances. Also, why are Picard's ancestors not immediately awakened in the middle of the night by a ship crashing in their backyard? I'm really loving this season and this episode, but we're not off to a good start. And neither is Raffi. This woman has been pulling her life back together after over a decade of deep-seated issues, and is suddenly stricken by grief over the death of Elnor. She's not ready to talk about it and just wants to put the task in front of her in place of the pain. Though when Picard tries to give a "we must press on" Winston Churchill-style speech, she smacks him down with what seems on the surface to be misplaced anger at Picard. But this got me thinking about a possible way this story could go. So far, every time we've seen Q this season, it's only been through the eyes of Picard. Even in this episode, with a full bridge crew of people around him, no one but Picard sees Q. Could one of 2 things be going on here? Either Q isn't there at all, and this has all been a delusion of Picard's, though we've seen in trailers that Q interacts with a Soong at this point, which leads me to another possibility. Are Q and Picard one and the same entity? Just 2 sides of the same coin. It would certainly give Raffi's words some real weight. Let's get to the first like, for Jurati becoming partially assimilated so she can access the Borg Queen's mind. The character of Agnes Jurati has at times taken on all the worst qualities of how Wesley Crusher and Sylvia Tilly were written in their early respective seasons. Somehow amplifying most of those same things up to 11 just works. This whole scene between her, the Queen, and Picard is an absolutely beautiful work of art on screen. At times it's funny, tense, and insane. But it really, really works. During the beam-in sequence, I really don't know what to make of the modern version of California Dreamin'. I really like the song, and this version even. But can we all agree that it's at least jarring when Star Trek plays music with lyrics? It's only like the fourth time, movies included, we've been treated to more than an orchestral score. I'm flirting with a like here, but I don't think I can pull the trigger. What I will give a like for is the cute scene of Seven beaming into a park in front of a little girl that asks if she's a superhero. The wink is beautiful. But I wanted so badly for her to just say yes and walk away. Raffi beams into a sanctuary district, as evident by the poster in the background, calling back to the time Sisko, Bashir, and Dax ended up in the same year. She reverse mugs a mugger, though I'm surprised she didn't keep the gun. I understand no phasers to contaminate the timeline, but you never know in Los Angeles when you're gonna need firepower. I do agree with her assessment on how screwed our current system is. Meanwhile, the transporter that wasn't 100% beams Rios in 20 feet off the ground, and he hits hard. Thankfully, a bystander takes him to a clinic that patches him up, and I've got a like for the Latina doctor that treats Rios. You know they can't end up together, but I so badly want this to pay off as a love story. Maybe it'll turn into one of those things where he becomes his own great-great-grandfather. Either way, the chemistry between those two actors is wonderful. Throughout these parts, we get cut establishing shots from NCIS Los Angeles or whatever. And I have another like for Seven and Raffi playing up the cute lesbian couple who are definitely funner than Kevin. This episode pairs really dark and lighthearted moments well. Maybe it has something to do with Leah Thompson, yes, that Leah Thompson, that knows a thing or two about time travel plots in the director's chair for this one. The Borg Queen thinks she's got some leverage on Picard, but it turns out Agnes got most of the info they needed, and caps off a solid episode for her character by basically giving the Borg Queen a big ol' f*** you. Rios' story doesn't end so nicely. Just when it looks like he's going to walk away with this thing with nothing more than a headache, immigration agents prove that they are such dicks they'll raid a medical clinic, and Dr. Rios gets tagged for deportation. I can't forget the most important piece of trivia we learn in this episode. Rick and Morty is officially part of the Star Trek universe now. I wonder if this was a nod to Lower Decks creator Mike McMahon. This episode slowed the pace of an edge-of-your-seat season so far, but that's a good thing. Not every episode can go at warp 10. This sets us up really nicely for the Bell Riot's time period, and I'm anxiously awaiting next week's show. I'll be glad to not do reviews on 2 Trek shows on the same day. I'm considering maybe doing a review for the Halo series that starts on Paramount Plus next week. Let me know in the comments if you'd be interested in a review of that show. Thanks for tuning in. I've been your host, Dustin Wing.